Let me get settled here for a minute. Okay, just try to take a deep breath and relax a little bit. Just hear your breathing rhythm for a moment and try to reduce it to about half speed. Slow it down by about half. Alrighty. Well, the first thing we need to do is to bring our Rasha bodies out. And remember, our Rasha bodies are those smaller bodies here. We're going to put a part of our consciousness in the Rasha body in the form of what we call a mini-me, where it's a you that looks just like you, and you make a little version of it. And stick it in your azure, as if a little tiny you is sitting in your azure flame, or right at the thymus gland inside your body. In this particular technique, we are going to bring the Rasha body directly upward, and we're going to use the breath in a minute. We're going to bring it directly upward from the azure, up the central vertical column, through the pineal, and out the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, the top of the head. And when we do that, we're going to bring it all the way up and have it float in the air over our heads for a minute until everybody gets out and gets coordinated. And then from there, we're going to manifest a shield underneath the mini-me Rasha body collective. And then the shield will look like a beautifully glistening plate made of liquid light. And we're going to fly that plate to a spot in the North Sea, not far off the coast of Amsterdam. And that is when we'll let you know when we're over the spot, and we're going to descend the shield together. And when we descend it, that is when we're going to go down into the subterranean lakes, and we are going to find the Christ-Star Crystal Temple vehicle. All right, so first thing, we'll get our rashas up and out. So inhale for a moment and hold the breath at the azure area. In a moment, we're going to release the breath forcefully downward, and that will push the Rasha body up and out the top of your head. So breathe down. And sense the sensation of the Rasha body going pop and popping up and literally shifting up and hanging over your head. Try to feel a connection if you can. Some people will feel it, some people won't. It takes a while sometimes to work with these techniques before you can start to feel them physically or see things that are described. See. If you feel that you haven't got it all the way out and your mini-me is still stuck in your brain someplace, you can take another breath and again forcefully push down with the breath. There they go. I saw a couple of them that were stuck. Yeah, good job. All right. All righty. Now, we're going to have a bit of assistance from the beloveds here, and they're going to actually make what looks like a rain shower of pale, it's hydrolase, but it's pale bluey aqua color, a little bit more blue than the usual aqua-y blue color we use, not quite as green. But it's just lovely energy that's going to come down like a gentle rain shower, and it's not going to come down as far as our physical bodies right now. It's actually going to come down to the average level of where people have their Rasha bodies above their head, and it's going to, as it passes through them, it's going to harmonize the bass pulse rhythms of everyone enough so they can be sitting on a flat plane, and it will turn into that flat plane of hydrolase. So we are going to fly a hydrolase shield. Okay. The little bursts are starting. They're like little millions of little puffs of really pretty aqua blue color raindrops, but they move really fast in little bursts. See if you can sense them. the little pitter-patter of hydrolyzed droplets falling from the ceiling. They look really pretty. Some people may be able to see the little because they come in really fast little bursts. Okay, they're moving down through our rasha bodies now, and kind of, you can see the rashas bouncing a bit to find the average mean where they can lay on a flat plane, where the bottoms of them can be on a flat plane. Alrighty, they got the shield set. Okay, now in your rasha, imagine that you just are going to sit down comfortably in your rasha body on the shield. You're on this pretty light bluey aqua shield of liquid light. And everybody's just going to sit down with their rashas, and we're going to go for a quick cruise over to a spot just off the coast of Amsterdam that's in the North Sea area. I'm still trying to figure out if it's the channel. It's like not, I don't think it's as far down as the channel, so we're calling it the North Sea because it's literally like right on a horizontal with Amsterdam. Okay. They're firing up the engines. And watch, there's little flame sparks coming out of the bottom, the underneath part of the shield. And it's going to rise up now. And we can just breathe comfortably and try to follow the imagery that is occurring. Okay, the shield is beginning to rise up past the ceiling level at this point. So our rashas are getting a ride. And we're going to ride together. We're going up. We're somewhere. Whoa, that was fast. We just did a jump, and we're up outside in the atmosphere someplace over the hotel. And now we're moving toward the water. What I'm seeing are just really interesting cloud forms whipping by pretty fast, so it must be actually traveling quite quickly. Oh, neat. Okay. We're moving toward what appears to, okay, it's a big vertical, it looks like a tether line. It's actually a calling in beam, like a lighthouse. It's a pale violet, just beam coming up from somewhere far below. And that is the temple. That is the Christ Star temple way down under. It has like a tractor beam. And they have activated it for us so it can find us, so we know where to go. And right now, imagine that you can sense the shield that your rasha is riding on, the big plate in the sky, that the center of it has locked into this very high up in the air tractor beam, the pale violet tractor beam, and it is pulling the shield. It is now guiding the shield in and positioning it where it's in exactly the right place to bring it downward through into the water, and through the water down to the earth beneath the ocean water of the North Sea, and then down through the crust a bit and into what will be another body of water. And in that other body of water is where the Christ Star vehicle exists. And it's a vehicle and it's a temple. It's part of a complex of these that exist on that level from the first seeding. And these temples were fully activated before the electric wars 5.5 million years ago. So we're aligning now, and imagine you can sense a bit in your physical body the feelings your rasha body would be having as it's descending on a shield comfortably, but moving downward, kind of like the feeling of being in an elevator that's moving just a little bit quickly, where you can feel the momentum. Even though we can't see it around us, we're actually moving down the center chamber, the Hare Krishna chamber of this Christ Star temple. Okay. Okay, we're getting at this point, the shield is approaching the water level, where we're going to break water and start going down underwater. So imagine now that a large dome of pale violet light makes a dome over the top of the shield. So it's like we have a protective bubble, half of a bubble on top of us, so we're not going to even experience being wet. But we can see out of the bubble, and we can see ourselves going down, down, and downward, through the water. Now we are approaching the bottom of the North Sea spot, and we're approaching the sand. We're approaching, now moving through sand, down through rock. We're moving down through rock further. And suddenly, as we're moving through the rock, there's a sense of a bit of resistance of the downward movement, as if it's harder to push through than when we were moving through the water or the air. But it's still going. We are actually being drawn in by the tractor beam, so we don't have to use our breath energy to, as the jet fuel to make it move. It'll save energy for us that way. Okay, it's going down, and now suddenly the resistance feeling on the underside of the shield is letting loose, because we're coming into a free space, like an opening, a cave opening, deep under some part of the Earth's crust, between the crust and the upper mantle. And we're in air again, but as if we're in a cave, a large cave area, and it's quite dark. And there's water below us again, and we are going to be moving in now. We're being drawn in, down through the water again. We still have our bubble barrier over the top of the shield. And all of a sudden, there's almost like it sounds like a chink sound. Almost like if you tapped the bottom of a porcelain plate gently with a metal fork or something. And this means that we have been reeled in. We are now on the top. Our plate, our disc, our shield is sitting on the top of this temple. And what's interesting is the top of the Christ Star temple is very small and pointed, and the shield is very large. So it'll be interesting in a moment to see how they're going to get us in there. Because we are a large plate sitting on top of a small point. Because the fat part of this temple is the width going across. And even though it's very large on the inside, it's not very big on the outside. Oh, okay, I'm seeing it. Here we go. What they are doing is they're folding up our shield as if it were a paper plate. But they're folding it very nicely, as if a hand was under the paper plate and closed its hand upward and brought the plate upward so nothing would fall off it. And make like an envelope of it, like a little sack. And now our disc is long and vertical. And now there is a hum sensation coming from the tip point of the what appears to be tiny temple. Oh, there is just what is it? It was a hyperspace snap, okay, is what they're referring to it as, where all of a sudden there was just like almost a distortion effect where it went pop, and it just went and sucked us in. It just opened, got big, we got small, whatever happened, it just leaped, and now we are still in our little vertical plate, and it's kind of funny because I can see us on the inside as well. It's like, our plate has been folded up into a vertical, not cone-shaped thing, just like a vertical thing. And we are all still stuck on the spots in the shield that we were. So, like we were sitting flat, so now we're like sitting on the walls of our plate. Yeah, this will change in a minute, they said. What we're going to do now is move downward until we hit the center shield of the Christ Star Temple. Okay. And then our shield disc will unfold again. Our plate will unfold again. We're almost there. Ooh, neat. I'm hearing interesting sounds. They're not quite mechanical, but it's almost like, okay, plate settles, and then you hear these, like, this locking in sound, this little, almost like if it were spaceship sounds, but they don't sound as heavy or metal-like. All right, here we go. We're locking in now. Now our plate is completely unfolding again and going back to its large disc size. Oh, neat. And what I'm seeing now, and see if you can see this with me, and if you can't, imagine it there. Our plate has unfolded, our shield has unfolded. We are in the center now of the Christ Star Temple. But what is fascinating is what our shield looked quite large, and it felt quite large. Right now it is like a little tiny plate laying in the center of a structure that is the size of this hotel. except the hotel doesn't have walls in between its spaces. It's just a wide open space inside, as if you were inside that Christ star crystal shape. And it has, far off, quite a ways around us, but you can see that the crystal facets are like clear windows, and there is a bit of a pale silvery blue light at the moment that is outside of those windows. And that is about all that you can really see, and it kind of shimmers and flickers. Now we're going to get ready to go through a passage. And in this passage, this is the one that looks like the geode, where it has a membrane across it. And when we pass through this, we will move through the passage in the way described in a moment. And when we get through it, we will begin to feel certain things, and then it will be the time to all of us say out loud the command words that are basically, please let us in, we're family. Yeah, that's it. It means something like that. We wouldn't have that code if we weren't being invited and we weren't considered family. So that's why they worded it that way. So now we're inside. You can just take a moment and try to get in touch with your Asha body again, and try to just look around you in your Asha body and see what you can see. It's as if you're in an amazing glass skyscraper, and the shield is the only floor, because down below you it has a point that goes down just like the one that goes up, and it has the points out to the sides. It's quite a fascinating vehicle. There doesn't appear to be like a control room or a pilot's cockpit or anything. It's just a beautiful crystalline space. Okay. Now, we're going to begin the journey through the geode door we're going to start feeling a sense of forward movement. And we're not moving our shield. Our shield is being moved inside of the Christ star vehicle. It is the Christ star vehicle itself around us that is actually moving forward. So it's as if you're in a crystal and you can feel the movement of the crystal bus moving forward. It is moving forward toward a violet pink light that is emanating out of the Shala 13 core of Earth. And this light, this membrane, has to do with a safe passage tunnel that will again serve as a protective tractor beam. But this will take us forward for a little bit. So we will pass through. Imagine as we're passing through, we can keep our eyes open in our Asha bodies, and we can look around and just see this quite huge mouth of a geode with like a gossamer pale pinky violet membrane. And we're moving through that into, you can start to feel a pull of this pale pinky violet current as if it's starting to spin gently, and it's moving us forward, and it's continuing to move us forward. And now we're moving actually upward, and we're starting to pick up momentum. It's as if we went forward a bit and then did a U-turn vertically. But it was a smooth U-turn. So now the crystal capsule is actually going vertically. And it's continuing to move. As we're moving through this violet light, we're now passing into a space that is known as the Aquafari Salasira passage. And it is here that we need to just once out loud say together the command request of entry. And that is, I'll say the first two words, I'll say the first part, and then you can repeat that part, and then we'll say the last part together, just so we don't lose anybody. Okay? The first part is Salasira Shadi. Salasira Shadi. And the second part is Utet Heran. Utet Heran. And now take a deep breath and hold for a moment. And when you exhale, imagine you are pushing out those tones all through your Illyrian chambers in your fields, those 12 lines that come up through your fields. Imagine it's going out into your body. And imagine that as you do that in your physical body, the same is occurring in your Rasha bodies. Now you can just relax and continue with the journey. We're going to continue moving forward in the Christ-Star vehicle. We can feel our momentum increasing a bit as the current, the protective current we are in of the Aquafairy passage is pulling us forward, and now we're beginning to enter a spinning part of the Aquafairy passage, and it's going to pull us through what is called the Aurora field, and that will help us adjust angular rotation of particle spin and line up properly with the gates that will take us through to Eartha and through to the Rishite temples, the Rishite halls. So right now, imagine that the crystal capsule is starting to spin with the spinning current, but our shield isn't. Our shield has become as if it's like suspended in anti-gravity, and it's just kind of hanging out. And if you want to, you can float your Rasha body up and float around in the air, and the shield is just kind of staying there as the capsule, the large Christ-Star capsule temple, is spinning around us. But we are still staying comfortable and not getting dizzy or not getting vertigo. You may also notice there's some fascinating light configurations flying by the windows as the Christ-Star capsule spins. All sorts of light flickerings and streaks and moving really, really fast, still within the pinky purple haze of the protective tunnel, Aquafairy passage. As it moves forward and spins, we notice that the spin is beginning to slow down. And it's going to slow to a stop, though we're still moving forward with the Christ-Star capsule. The spinning of the currents around us that are making the whole capsule spin, that part is going to stop. And we're just going to be moving gently forward again. Now, as we're moving forward, notice that we're moving slower and slower, and we're going to come to a gentle stop. The capsule has stopped just for a moment, and it has stopped right underneath this large chamber. It's a vertical chamber. It's lined up with the Christ-Star tip, the top of the Christ-Star. And in a second, there's going to be an invitation that is sent out to us from the Rishite halls, the halls of Rishite. There's a passage that links Eartha, which is Stargate 3 in the M31 Andromeda matrix, the Aquinas matrix. And in a second, they are going to release, they call it a backburst, where it pulls energy into the Adore side and creates like a vacuum pull on the chamber, which will allow us, or the Christ-Star capsule, to be pulled upward vertically. And it's going to happen in a second. It's just going to go really quick. It's going to zoom like up as soon as it pops in the center. Yep, there we go. Okay, it just. Whoa, that was fast. We're in there already. Wow, that was a really fast one before I could even articulate it verbally. All right, what has just occurred is this chamber, this tube opened vertically up above the Christ-Star capsule, and the Christ-Star capsule was just coming into, let's say, docking in the center of Eartha, and Eartha's corresponding Shala 13 gate. And that has a direct connection into the cosmic Rishite, halls of Rishite. And we just got brought up really quickly from Eartha into the Rishite, the halls of Rishite. And this is the place where we're going to begin to do some action things with our Iridonis bodies. So what we are in the chambers now, moving upward. We're in the vertical chamber, and we're moving up through the bottom sphere of the 8-cell cluster of the cosmic Rishite halls. And they're really, really huge spheres. You can't see them from our position from one end to the other, like where the ends are, but we are inside of these spheres. We've come to about the center point in the sphere, the bottom sphere, and now we find that the shield is stopping moving and the Christ star capsule is stopping moving. We've docked, as they just said. All right, now that we are docked inside the bottom cell of the bottom hall of the Rishite, cosmic Rishite chambers halls, we will notice that there are 3 or 4 doors in the planes of the crystal planes of the Christ star crystal that are just going to open, and little archway doors with, like doorways with no doors on them, just suddenly appear. And at this point, we can leave our shield parked in the safety of the crystal temple, of the Christ star crystal temple, and we can just get up and kind of like stretch our Rasha bodies out from our journey and just go out one of the doors. They'll all lead out into this greeting area in the bottom cell of the Rishite, the halls of Rishite. Okay. You can look around and see just what you might experience. Everybody has a different encryption. And when you look at something, you're actually transmitting currents through your eyes to that something. And those currents carry your encryption. So you will see things that have a co-resonance with, a co-resonant signature with your own encryption. So there are pieces already as we are entering the halls. There are pieces of memory, there are pieces of things that are part of you that hold your encryption that will appear to you. They may be scenes from other lives, they may be objects floating in the air, they may be colors, may be beings. So give yourself a moment as you walk around independently in your personal Rasha body and just see what you see in the bottom hall of Rishite. We're not going to stay here for too long right now. You could come back here if you want to. Just remember the bottom ball and the Christ star vehicle. Once this has been used, you can use this as an elevator to get there and just like get yourself into the Christ star space and just say, go please, Rishite, halls of Rishite. And it will get there. You don't have to worry about remembering how to get there. But for now, see if you can find... There's going to be one small object, and they're saying it's going to be an object, that will appear for everyone that is here, everyone on the shield. It is something that has specific meaning, and if whatever appears to you at the first moment, don't say, oh no, that can't be true, I must be getting in the way. Even if it seems ridiculous, or silly, or stupid, or like, why would I want that? It has significance in encryption. It may be something from one of your other lifetimes that has significance as far as opening memory for you, helping you to open memory. It may be an object you can use or a picture of something. But each one of you, there'll be some type of object that will simply appear floating in the air before your Rasha body. And imagine that you reach your Rasha body, hand out and pick it up. Or not really pick it up, but kind of stick it to your palm. Because if it's like a house or something, because some people might have big ones, big objects. You just kind of attach your hand to its energy field and kind of move it toward you. And when you do, notice it will turn into a spark of light, a little tiny condensed microchip version, crystal microchip version of what that object is. That object is for you to use at other times, to call it back to mind, and it has a meaning and a message for you, multi-layer ones, that it can help you in your own journeys of consciousness expansion in the Christ. And that's why these objects were provided for you. And it will lead you to other journeys as well if you use them. And all you have to do is call them to mind and kind of meditate on them and remember the spot you were in the Halarishate when you found the object floating in front of your Rasha body. So you can take that image from there and do all sorts of things with it, and they'll assist you if you request their company, Sarasa Beloveds. But we're going to get ready to go upward now. But we have to go upward individually. We can't float the whole vehicle up. The chamber is wide enough, but we are going into the center chamber, the Hare Krishna chamber of the center hall. And this is where we will find the Rishaic record. And in the Rishaic record, this is the cosmic memory matrix, crystal, condensed crystal. And as we move into first the center cell or center hall of Rishate, we're going to do this as individuals. Again, directly above our heads, there will be like a personal tube, a vertical tube opens, and we can float up by intending to do so. So we'll just float up in the air as if we can easily fly or swim in the air and move ourselves up the personal tube that opened as an invitation to bring us up into the center cell of the center hall of the Rishate halls. Okay, doing good. All right. Now, once you are in this space, realize again it is a huge spherical space, and you're on the inside of it, but it's so big you can't really see, you can hardly tell it's a sphere. You can see the bend in the top part of it a little bit, but the edges are so far away. It's so huge. There's plenty of room there to lay down. And what we are going to do here, now that we are in this sacred space, at the center of the sacred space, there is an amber, pale amber, yellow, gold, and silver flame. And this flame is a living flame. This flame is the encryption holder. The encryption holder is a flame that is around the core crystal. We won't enter the Akashic record. What we will enter into the Akashic record, or it's actually the Rishik record, but we start with the Akashic part of it. We're going to add our encryption into the Akashic record. It will be taken into the Rishaic record within the Rishaic halls. So what we're going to first do to do this is imagine that you are very comfortably going to lay down, and notice there isn't a floor, and we left the shield down in the parking lot in the lower cell. So we're actually just still floating in the air. And that's okay. Just imagine you're tilting your Rasha body backward and laying comfortably on your back in the air, floating inside of the center cell, the center hall. And it is from here that we will call to our Eridanus bodies, which is our spirit of Adore. Imagine the Eridanus body as beautiful sparkles of light. And because we are where we are, they will pick up a bit of a pale amber yellow tint because of the center flame of the Akashic record. That is the first part of what we are interfacing with the frequencies of. So at first the Rasha body will appear to have a pale yellow amber, a little oscillation of millions of points of light. And imagine it's coming up behind you. It's actually stationed behind you, and with the breath, you're going to bring it up into your body, and just leave it in the body, and hold the breath for a moment to let it settle, and then gently kind of breathe out sideways so it stays in there. Try to feel the sensation of the Eridanus body within your Rasha body. And try to feel that sensation in your physical body. It's usually a bit more distinct when you bring the Eridanus directly into the physical body. And we'll be doing that later but right now we need to do it this way up here. In a moment, we're going to take another inhale and hold. And now we're going to push the Iridanus body up and out of our own body, but still having it laid down, and we're still laying down in our Rasha. And it's going to hang in the air, laying on its back over us, where we're looking at the back of its head and its back as it's laying down up above us in our Rasha. Now we're going to leave the Iridanus body there for a moment. And now we're going to stand our Rasha bodies back up. And again, there's no floor, but we're going to go into a vertical floating position. And at this point, we have picked up a live imprint from the Iridanus body of our perfect blueprint, our perfect divine blueprint, in our Christic divine blueprint. And we are going to now walk over to the center area, or float over. You can walk in the air, or float in the air, or swim, whatever you like. But we're moving toward a center point. And this center point is where the amber pale gold flame is. And that is the opening to the Akashic record, the Akashic with an A, the Adore side. And that is the entry point for us to begin entering our codes, our perfect imprint, into the halls of Rishite and into the Rishaic memory matrix, cosmic memory matrix. So imagine now we are all standing around this flame. And it's actually it looks like quite a small, pale, amber gold flame. And so small that we have to bend down a little bit in our Rasha bodies and transmit our codes from both right and left hands. Just point the palm chakras, or the palms, at this little flame that's no bigger than not even knee high. And we're standing around, and each of us are just transmitting the perfect imprint of ourselves to this flame and putting the imprint of who we are now in its perfect form into the cosmic memory matrix. Now we've entered this on the Akashic record. And in a moment, there's going to be an opening that occurs, and the flame color is going to change as the Rishaic record opens. And this will happen as the Ettore, or Akashic record, bonds with its adjugate twin, the Akashic record. You feel a slight vibration, and you might even feel it running down into your body. You'll feel it in your Rasha body, but you might also even feel a little bit of a tremor of frequency down the back side, like on the back around the shoulders of your physical body. This is the rumble that occurs before the Akashic, Rishaic record opens. And as we're all standing around, and if you're done transmitting your encryption in, you can put your Rasha body hands down and just relax and stand there or float there. And in a moment, there's going to be a pop and a wave is going to release. Okay. We're going to ask you when the pop happens. We'll say pop, and at that point, we'd like you to inhale and hold for a moment. Now, pop. And just hold for a moment. We should bring in the frequencies of the carrier wave that was released in the pop. You can just gently exhale. You picked up the encryption of the carrier wave. It is the carrier wave that the Jeshua code, healing codes, will be able to run on down to you when they bring your Iridanus body back. But right now, we're going to just pick up a bit of that wave. Try to feel it, and now we start to see the colors that are emerging. They're a beautiful spectrum of pearly colors. They're pearly colors with sparkles in them, like the colors of the lava flows. Imagine you can see them radiating off in like little pulses coming off of the center flame, and the center flame is no longer amber. It's lost its amber tint, and it's going into a pale, pale pink. And deep inside the core of the pale, pale pink, you can see a pale, pale blue. And deep inside that, there's something that looks metallic, like dancing metals of silver and gold and copper. These are the images associated with the Rishaic, the cosmic memory matrix, the Rishaic memory crystal. Now we're going to get ready to go and return. The return journey is quick. It was establishing the route of the passage and awakening it back in our Rasha bodies that takes a bit of time. We have put our encryption in the cosmic memory banks. We have put our perfected encryption as healed by the Iridanis. There is a wave going to release, and it is best actually that we're not there in Rasha yet for a wave. It's going to be like a burst. Our Iridanis bodies can handle that kind of frequency, but it wouldn't be actually good for our Rasha bodies right now. So before this kind of burst, and it's almost like a sun ray, it's almost like a big, like a pulse coming off of the flame, the pinky flame. So we're going to go back now to, we're going to like walk away a bit or float away a bit from the flame together, and we're going to go find the little tube that we use to float up into the center cell, and we're going to float back down our little tubes and go back down into the bottom cell or the bottom hall of the Rishate hall of records, and we're going to reassemble around our Christ, our crystal capsule, and we'll see that the doors are still open, and we'll go back in, and our shield is still there where it was parked. So let us move our Rasha bodies back onto the shield, and sit and relax or lay down on it, whatever you prefer in your Rasha body. In a moment, there's going to be a very rapid return. But remember, the Iridanis body will stay there until either we call it home with the technique this evening, or if you're not doing that, it will come home within about 3 days, bringing with it the healing encryptions characteristic to the Jesro code. Okay, now imagine the doors are fully closing to the Christ Star vehicle, and you imagine that you can hear a whirring sound, like a brrrr, and building in pitch, but it seems to be from outside, not inside of the crystal. And at this point, the crystal is getting ready to pop its flame, which means it will turn on its aquiline sun, which looks like the fire water crystals, the pale aqua fire water crystals, and it will simply follow its own tractor code, and it will simply descend and go down vertically, and it will automatically make all the adjustments and turns that will take it right back down into the spot coming through Earth's atmosphere, coming into the North Sea. And it'll be beginning that journey any second now, and it's just going to be a quick one. And we're going to find ourselves slowing down as the capsule or the crystal, Christ Star crystal, just starts to, its bottom point starts to crest the water of the North Sea again, coming back down, and then it will slow down and just settle down in nicely into its original place. Okay, it's coming down. Okay, ooh, there we go. All right, it's starting to slow down and crest the waters now. So just observe as the windows are clearer now. You can actually observe some of the underwater scenes as we go by because we're moving slow enough. And there's going to be another one of those weird hyperspace leaps in a second. I don't know what they are, but they're good. And we're literally jumping through some kind of barrier. It's popping through. I think it just shrunk again. It did. Oh, neat. All right. It still feels big from the inside, and we still feel big, but it actually just shrunk down to a tiny little crystal again. but the crystal is still inside of a really large alkaline sun flame. It's coming into its position in the subterranean waters at this point. And in a second, it's going to do something funny that's going to propel our shield up and out to give us the lift to get us up and out where we can float ourselves back over here. Right about now, it's going to do it. And you might even feel a jolt coming up from the floor up into your central vertical column from the floor here. It'll be down from Earth's core's interface to this temple. In about a second. On and now. And if you feel it, inhale. Right. There we go. And just release gently. And that will give, in a second, we're going to go kind of flying up and back out into the air, cresting the water and coming back. And we'll have the shield in the air in a minute. Okay, one more. We're going to need one more thrust burst of energy to get it to do that comfortably. So let's inhale for a moment and hold. Now imagine that breath is going to push downward through where your Rasha body is sitting on the shield. There you go. Right. Alrighty, now we're making it up through into the air again. Oh, neat. It just did another one of those jump, as if there's pieces of the film missing when you're watching an action. It just jumped. It was over the, place over the North Sea, and all of a sudden it just went bang, and it was over the hotel, and it's here again. And it's descending now. It's coming down over our heads in the room, and it will stop just below ceiling level. And, all right, it's settling. Okay, and you can call your Rasha body back in now. Just simply inhale all the way up to the ceiling level. Imagine you're all the way up to the ceiling level. Imagine you inhaled right through the central vertical column of your Rasha that's sitting up above your head. And now, gently ease it back down in. And that is the first journey to the halls, cosmic halls of Rishite. There will be others. There will also be the activation tones that are best to be done after dinner, because there needs to be a time of settling. Because you just brought back an open conduit to your encryption in the cosmic memory matrix. And there will be, this is the fastest way, let's put it simply, the fastest way to begin turning on your own cellular memory, where you start to remember more of yourself and more of your other selves that are simultaneously in other space-times, more of perhaps where you came from just before you were here, or where your favorite place in the entire cosmos was. That's not a bad place to look for. You can actually direct what kind of memory will come first, instead of being like run over by memory flashes, because sometimes they'll come through like videos, where all of a sudden you're just watching stuff in your head and going, whoa, check that out. Whoa. Yeah. Or sometimes it'll come up as an emotional, what am I crying about? I don't know. And then the videos will run. Or you'll start to hear things and somebody will narrate for you or something like that. So you can direct how it is by thinking, okay, the first memory I want to see is of my most favorite and joyful and happy Krishnic place in the entire cosmos. And start there. And it may take a couple days before you actually, it'll actually come instantly, but before it registers in your DNA that it's there, where you can actually say, oh, neat, look at that, right? Or I felt that. But this is the beginning of access to a very magical place. I don't want to keep blabbering on, because we still have Mylars to do, and I hate to say, I'm afraid to look at what time it is. Hold on a second. What time is it? What? Spaced out still from that journey. 2, you might be 2, actually 3. I think we left the sequence that I want up on the table, which means I have to go up there to dig through it, and it's a half an hour away from when we're supposed to be absolute latest time into dinner for the first wave anyway. So I think what we're going to do is, when we come back, I will do this part before, and then we'll have to move the chairs then, because you have to, want to be comfortable while we're looking at these. But instead of trying to rush through and just whipping them at you now, after running upstairs to go get the pack we picked up the wrong pack of them, was what we did. So we'll just let you go to dinner now, and come back when the second dinner is over, and then we will go into the rest of the technicals for a bit, and then we will do the rest of the activation. Okay, does that work for everybody, I hope? Okay, cool. So what time? Well, 7:30 is when the second wave's over, isn't it? When is the second wave over?
Well, if they go now, we can resume at 8:15.
Okay, as says that if we go now, we can resume at 8:15. So that will take care of the 2 waves of dinners. Okay? I hope you enjoyed that. Of raising the Iridanis and collecting your Iridanis imprint and the healing codes of the Jeshua code that are being picked up by your Iridanis in the Rishate, halls of Rishate. And if I start tripping over my lips, it's because I'm absolutely exhausted. But that's okay. Once the wave comes, I tend to forget about that until it stops. So I will try to be as expedient as possible. The only thing we have left to cover is Seeds of Suffering and the Finally Ending Story, Milky Way Mysteries, the Bloom of Doom, and the Procyon Matrix, His Story, Her Story, the Reflections of the Eternal Creation, Return to Innocence, and Hall of Records of Akashic Memory. We did some of that. We did most of that. The Seven Sons of the Seven Sons in Jeshua, Ancient Secrets of Amsterdam. Oh, just a few things to cover. Okay. I think I'm going to take the jacket off before the wave even comes, because it's just going to interrupt it. Alrighty. We have spoken about whenever it was, yesterday, today, whenever it was, because at this point time is blurring in my clock. We have talked about the structure of the Rasha bodies, obviously, and that they are the structure also of the base shields of the light body structures, and of which form the structures upon which matter accretes. This is simply to remind us of the vertical maps, because that's what we're going to go into first. We're going to go into the vertical maps, and I want to go through them in a way, it won't be as detailed as sometimes I've gone through them, because I want to get to the other detail, which is where they fit with the Andromeda story, because that is key to understanding actually the secrets of Amsterdam, and also where we just went, or what we just went around, where in our journey, what we were attempting to avoid. And this gets into the bloom of doom and what it has done, and there's a bit in that about what it has done in our bodies as well, and what we have done this evening, what the techniques that we have done during this entire workshop, actually, what they are to assist us with in healing. And we can't really appreciate the fact that we still have the power to consciously direct energy enough in a way that we can facilitate this bioregenesis of ourselves. When you see the mutations that are in and how they manifest, there's a bit on the chakras where it shows that some of the things we have done tonight will begin to release unnatural memory matrix seals that are locked in to the chakras, and it will begin to change the flow of the chakras and bring back what's supposed to be in them and those kind of things. So I want to get through some of that. I want to get to finish the Amsterdam story, and if there's something at the end of that too. Right? So we'll get there. But it's just to remind us of in the structure of the Gelesic templates, and this is only showing one. There are 4 embedded, which means 4 embedded layers of Gelesic radiation in one density. But you have the 1, 2, and 3 layers form the solid core, and right around in the 1 layer, which is right around the 0.5 span, there are something called the meta-Ls that collect, and they eventually will become important as we move further with the teaching. So I just wanted to point out that they do collect around here, even though these diagrams don't reflect that at this point. So we have 1, 2, and 3 is the solid crystal core. We have the 4, 5, and 6 Gelesic layers form the aquifers, or the liquid outer core. We have the Ta, the Ma, and the Ka, which are the 3 layers of the mantle. And then we have the 9.5 span that would be the crust, or the Ra-Ka, and they call it the Ra-Ka because this is the Ka field, the 9 Ka field, and this is the Ra, RHA, light field. So the Ra-Ka, and that forms the crust, literally. So we are here on the D2 level of the grid, and this is just showing any level of the grid. And it also shows us that we have the solids, the liquids, the mantle solids, then what would be the atmosphere, the gases, and then what's supposed to be the coronosphere, which would be the vapors. And it means that Earth, if it were a living body, a living stellar body, it would indeed have a coronosphere like the sun does. And the coronosphere is an essential part. It's like having its own sun bodies turned on, where it can go through the hydrolysis conversion process on a regular basis. That is the basis on which the eternal life structures are built, is the continuous processes of circulating energy between source as backflow and then getting backflow return and generating more quantum through the light body and spirit body structure, and backflow return is a continual eternal life, never-ending story, and that's the good story. But what we're going to see is what has happened on this planet a bit and what it's connected to, because what it's connected to is really fascinating, but it answers one big question is, okay, if Eartha is actually in our atmosphere, as we have described, just at a different angular rotation of particle spin, how can it at the same time be in the M31 Andromeda galaxy, which is 2.2 million light years away? We'll show you how the gates interface that allows for that to happen. So let's go to the next one, please. I'm going to start moving through these quick to get to the main ones. Yeah, I'm going to go through them as quick as I can, actually. Excuse me. Sorry. This is just to remind us that in that structure we have the Illyrian chamber lines, or in the Rasha body they're called the fire chambers, and they're called the Illyrian chambers when they're running through the light body structure. They run the core the core frequencies of the lavas to the Navajo cells, the core elemental frequencies, and it is in them actually that atomic structure is created. As far as the elements in the periodic table, they are specifically formed. We're not going to go heavily into right now how each interface between one span, the crystal span that goes, it's the circle, the sphere, and its line, or its Illyrian chamber, is the combination of those frequencies that will create one type of thing, say hydrogen, and then there'll be another that creates, say, oxygen, and another that creates, all the different elements, and they're specifically created, and right now they are distorted because of the distortions in the planetary fields. Those distortions are reflected, they're a reflection of, actually, distortions in the literal solar plane of our solar system, and that is a reflection of the distortions that are in the galactic plane of our Milky Way system. Our Milky Way system is considered a phantom system, which means it's partially fallen from another living matrix, and that living matrix was and is M31, which is the Andromeda galaxy. And this means that for anything to go home and to go through a full starfire, it needs to get itself back to Andromeda, because if it doesn't, it will not have the natural code frequencies to ride on where the encryption matches, so it can go to the core, engage the hydrolysis conversion processes, and go into that the hydrogelesic state of liquid light that natural evolution is about. So that's why they're finally letting us know what's bigger than just what the Earth is connected to, so we can understand that process better. Next one, please. This is just to remind you that the process of hydrolysis conversion and the natural evolution has to do with the adjugate twin pairs in the elemental kingdom, literally, interacting with each other. And when any of these come together, any of the elements, and these are just the element numbers, either the density 1 elements, these are the density 2 elements, these are density 3, these are density 4 elements, when any one of those come together on their same vector line, that is an adjugate twin set. When they come together in the center, they become the element, a transient element, celestiline, and that is the element that allows for the biological changes, chemical changes, light body changes, and Rasha body changes, through which you can turn the body literally into a state of gelesic liquid light in order to move through natural organic crystalline stargates. Next one, please. Picking up speed. And just like people. We've talked about the birth cycles of people evolving, and as far as how when this would be the Big Bang point when you're born, and this is the cetus cycle before that, and this is where it all started with the fertilization of the egg by the sperm, and then you go through the Partakai cycles where they're created, the triads formed here, the cetus cycle forms, that's where the spirit body is born, then you have the Rasha body that's born in here, and then finally you get to be born in the body physically. You finish the integration of your density 1 level of self the year after it, by the first birthday. This is supposed to be a natural way that it works. And then you go through this first cycle. And that in that first cycle you would complete, actually you're accreting the frequencies of the core template here. And then you would be bringing in the frequencies of density 1 in the first cycle. And each one creates at the end of it a leap cycle. And then you would integrate the density 2 spectra, and then the density 3 and density 4. Density 4, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself there, behind myself. And from this point, this is where, at the age of 33, you would naturally have your Christed body. You would go into starfire transition and go into the Adashi turnaround cycles. And then you would continue the accretion of these frequencies here that correspond to the Adashi cycles and the outer layers of the 15-layer Dualizic templates. This would mean that you're accreting the frequencies of the Illumeradana, all right, that large body, the large frequencies of the spirit body. And at that point, you would be able to fully turn into liquid light and go into a state of becoming a full Christed being or a spherical identity. The people that are assisting us in these processes and giving us these teachings are an entire matrix, their Ekaveka system that is in an Akasha system, but their Ekaveka system has not fallen. They made it fully through, so their entire matrix is a Christed matrix. And that's why they have these teachings. They will always preserve them. They will always try to bring them in to systems that need host or assistance in trying to get back the ability to be an ascension system before that ability is lost, because there is a certain point where the ability to ascend will be lost to black hole fall, and usually they're self-contained black holes unless Metatronic science is involved, which tries to take something that is falling or fallen and drag its quantum in order to stop their own black hole from its final eventual implosion and return as space dust. So we are in the process where we are on a planet that used to be able to do this process, but it cannot any longer. It is stuck in a thing that you will see that has to do with what's called the sextant clock, and it's the same sextant clock that runs our bio templates, and it is the reason why we die, and it is the reason why our planet is dying and our sun is dying. We have mentioned in the beginning that our sun has entered the solar bardo cycle, which means the prana seed that is at the center of the Rasha body that connects the spiritual body to the light body and thus to the matter body, where progressively the 15 Dualizic rings start to separate from the outer light body separates from the Rasha body, so it separates from its ability to run the spirit body, which separates from its ability to be able to run the vectors and bring them together, so the natural living process of regeneration is progressively shut down. When Bardo begins, we end up with the ring waves for each one of the 15 Dualizic layers. They start off small, and they are gamma ray bursts that will come out from the core of the body that is going through that. Earth would be going through that right now, because usually if a central sun in a solar system has its prana seed closed, there's an immediate reaction by all of the planets that are orbiting around it, or suns that are orbiting around it, and they will usually, in sequence, also close theirs and enter the bardo with them. And this is not occurring on this planet for one reason. That reason is called the Crystal River Host. It is being run by a matrix, three matrices actually. There are three Akasha matrices involved with this and their entire Ekaveka systems, all the way down to their cores. They're holding something open that is called the Anshastasia Passage, and that is like a respirator line that is coming from another matrix to hold open Earth's prana seed for a period of time until we can get any of the life field that is capable of regenerating Christic codes so they can ascend and stay within the natural ascension cycles, to get them off planet and to get part of the planetary grids, if we can, into a slide, into something called the Ascension Earth Zone. Now, Ascension Earth is part of what is called the Aurora Field. The Aurora Field is actually, as we'll see in a little while, a matrix that is on the Adore side, which is in the same place as we are, but on the opposite spin, but it's a natural part of how Ekavekas operate with their Adore side and their Torre side. It is a matrix that interfaces between the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy, our original galaxy, And it is a system that is part of what's called the Polarian Host Network system. And we've talked about that a while back, where we had the Ark of the Covenant gates that worked here, and on the Adore side there was a corresponding part of them referred to as the Polarian gates. And the Polarian gates are being used as part of the support system for this. So we're in the middle of a really, really big evacuation operation is what is happening. Now, even though May of 2008, probably end of May period, is when the first solar Bardo ring wave is going to release, they're not saying we have to be worried about this right now or anything. The radiation levels are being transmuted at this time through this host system, and they will let us know. If it goes bad here for any reason, be it pole shift or really bad radiation coming that would harm people, the people that are working with these programs and working with the Aquiferian host shield that is here would literally have a 3-day evac notice, and if there was no notice available because something happened really fast, the fact that what we did tonight will not only get you, but also people who have many parts of the Jeshua lineage code in them, and also various other groups, they would actually be able to be shifted out and into the Ascension Earth layers, which are called the Aurora platforms in the Ascension Earth, if it were to go bad. So we're in the middle of a really big, slow, but large evacuation of a planet that will inevitably go into its death cycle. It won't immediately blow up, and neither will our sun. It's going to take a couple billion years for the sun to finish its using up its hydrogen fuel. But what it is going to do is it's going to reach a part of something that's called a Bardet cycle, that is the end part of a Bardo cycle. And at that point, it starts to spew more energy, and it starts to expand, and eventually on its way to becoming a red giant if it has a certain mass. Our sun has much more mass than it appears to have, because it's actually connected to a fallen part of itself from the density 2 system that is called Rapizod. And the fact is, our sun is large enough to do supernova, and that is how it will end eventually here. But that is not in 223 years. What happens in 223 years, it is the last point where all of it is the last point in the Bardo cycle where there's like a final gasp, and the prana seed opens just for a moment, and it is the last chance for something called the Ring of Fire evacuation from a dying system. And that's where ones that couldn't make it up into an Adashi return or into a host would actually be able to step back in to the density before, which means back into the Edonic middle levels, and they'd have to re-evolve out in the system again, and it would have to be hosted because of the nature of the system. But it is a better option to some than space dust return. It is referred to as the path of the Dalai Rama. The path of the Dalai Rama. The path of the Kali Krista is the path that we are on. That is the Adashi return and activation of the Christ star body and all of that. And there is one more path of the Kali Dima, and the Kali Dima is it is the full fall path, fall into black hole status, and that is what this system is going to do. And it is also known as the path of reincarnation, because reincarnation means that you just keep coming back and coming back because you're stuck in the same system until you burn out the quantum that is at the core of your light body, and then literally your matter can't hold itself together again, and neither can your consciousness. So there are the 3 options in the paths that are available at this time, and we are working the path of the Kali Krista, which is the Adashi Ascension path. Next one, please. Gotta move through these graphs. Just what? It's a problem. Oh, not that one. Oh. That's kind of interesting, actually. Kind of artistic there. It's like it's turned to liquid light. You know, it's like hydrogelesic. Hydrogelesic mylar. Oh, no, not this too. No, not the words, not the words. Oh, well, these have to be redone anyway. This was just to remind us that of the concept of how we, from the spherical maps that were based on the gelesic radiation layers and the planes that they form, how we're able to pull out the D1, D2, D3 of Earth, density level of Earth, which is the same place as the D1 grid of Eartha, and then the D2 of Eartha, and then that's the surface level. The D2s are the physical matter levels. So when we put those all together, we get the vertical map of we call it the Starfire map, that shows the interfaces of the gates and the planes and all of those things. Maybe if we get that off there and dry that off and maybe preserved so it doesn't melt more. Yeah, like the ink is melting away. I'm done with it anyway. Anyway, I'm done with that. Can we go to the next one, please? Need a napkin to wipe off the glass? You got some?
Don't say that. I'll be covered in napkins.
You see the shower of napkins. Hydrogalesic napkins. Is the screen dry? Okay. This is just a little bit more of a close-up of looking at some of the detail of when you start to see what the planes are as they interface with each other. And literally, the map went up this far, and that was getting us up to where the Adashi temples are, which are in the Ma 8 layer, the middle mantle layer of the D2 level of Eartha's body. And then up above that would be the crust layer of Eartha, the surface of Eartha. And we're way down here somewhere. Where are we? Eventually we'll do these where you can actually read them. Right here, that's our surface Earth. All right. There are things called cloud cities. Some of them are in what are called hibernation zones, which are reversed spin portions of the geodesic layers that formed artificial planes that are on reverse spin, and they're being run by various FA groups that are causing a big problem here. And they're all connected into the Beast network, the black hole systems, all of that. And then there are other cloud cities that are connected to what are called aurora platforms. And these have to do with the ascension matrix, the Aquiel matrix. And when the aurora platforms, and there are several of them, when they link together, they actually form a three-dimensional version of a planetary reality system that is it partly resembles Earth because it has the original Amente pattern of Earth's natural regenesis when they set the Amente rescue mission 550 million years ago, and it also has a part of Earth's natural encryption. So it literally is a larger planet than this, and it is a planetary system that is connected to an entire Ekaveka system that is the Adore side of the natural Andromeda galaxy system that was the Ekaveka from which our Milky Way has gone phantom, which means it's not in a full black hole yet, it's being eaten by one. And even science testifies to that because they know there's a black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, somewhere around the Sagittarius A star group of stars. We know the term of Sagittarius A star, the one they're referring to there, is actually the outer layer of one. It's not the core that's making the black hole, but it's part of it. And that is a place that is called Oberon. And it is a fallen place. It is a star, a part of a star that was once in the Andromeda galaxy and no longer is. Further down in that black hole, that is actually anchoring that black hole, is another piece of what used to be a star in the Andromeda galaxy that was called Proteus. Proteus was I forget what they're referred to. I think they're referred to of the Jaya stars. Jaya stars and their systems that actually orbit around them are in the density locks. When you look at a Cathara grid and you have the Iyumbi lock on the density 1, and then on density 2 you have the Azure lock and the Azure flame, and on the density 3 you have the Rajna lock and the Rajna flame, and then you have below your feet you have a lock that has the Mahadra, and above your head one that has the Adrana. In those lock systems there are interface suns, and that's what when we use our flames, they're the smaller version of in our own light body and spirit body structure. Well, the system that was in the Rajna lock in the Ekaveka system that is the Andromeda galaxy was called Proteus. And Proteus had a period of time where it was attacked by certain ones from a different fallen matrix, a couple of them actually, particularly a group that were known as the Apollyon, that came from a black hole system that was in a neighboring, it's called an adjacent Akasha, that is called, the whole matrix is called the Wisale matrix, and part of it is still Christic, but it had the Wisadek and the Wisadrax that were fallen black hole systems in it. And the Apollyon drama unfolded because of certain groups that had to do with the Wisadeks at that time. And it was 350 billion years ago is when the separation between the Milky Way and the Andromeda M31 occurred. And it occurred because of the fall, or partial fall, of the Rajna sun, the Rajna sun, in the natural Akaveka system that was our system. So this is where we get the what are called. We had the don't mind me, I'm getting a little tired. We have the Proteus, was the original natural star, or sun, galactic sun actually, and when the part of it that fell became the Procyon, and it was named Abaddon. And Abaddon was plugged into other things at various periods after that, and it ended up connected directly through a wormhole called the Arimathea wormhole that is connected to the Apollyon matrix that has grown in the Risa deck black hole into what is known as the cube matrix. And the cube matrix is a fallen matrix that uses Metatronic technology and the beast technology to eat other things, and it has been eating our Milky Way galaxy piece by piece for 150 billion years since the fall of Metatron, which was a collective that was sent in on a host mission to try to help certain of the ones that were falling, because what was already fallen here is 250 billion years ago. We had the fall of Lyra, the Lyra system. There are 3 gates that belong in the Lyra system. The Lyra system didn't used to live here. It didn't used to be connected to the Milky Way. It used to be part of the M31 system. So after that, the fall of Metatron occurred because the Metatron collective attempted to come in and help. And from that, what was called the Yod-He-Vod-He, or the Yahweh matrix, was formed in the Risa deck system. And that is what is connected to, first, the fallen part of the Rajna Proteus star that is now called Abaddon, that is at the center, where they haven't found that one yet. They've found the one that's called Sagittarius A star. That is a part of what used to be the Andromeda system that was called, it used to be called Oberon, and when it fell, they referred, and its encryption changed, to Oberon, and there are certain races associated with them. This whole fall is plugged into a technology that the key element of which is the bloom of doom, daisy of death, or the flower of artificial life and light, because it bends natural structure and it bends the natural laws of physics as they work in a Christic universe, and it perverts them in order to create feeding black hole systems that can try to maintain their existence and their quantum level so they don't implode by feeding off and taking energy from, vampiring energy from, living systems. Next one, please. I'm going to have to move through these this way fast, telling the story as I go, even before I get to that graph sequence. Excuse me. There will be times when there will be at some point we will release more of these. This is just showing where in the vertical map stack it would be too tall to fit on the Mylar if we didn't do it this way. So I pulled out the Aurora platforms. These would be the safe zones. The one that is a density 1 platform is called the Aurora 1 platform, and it's connected, it's subterranean. It would be like subterranean, go down into the Earth body, and then shift into that angular rotation of particle spin. The next one is the Aurora 2 platform. These form the cloud cities that are called Acelion, and they're in the thermosphere. The layer, if we go upward in our atmosphere, they would be at the level of kilometers that science here defines as the thermosphere. And then we would go up further and up. We have Aurora Platform 3. These are the ocean cities of Aquifarion. And these are in the Van Allen Gap, which is the space between the inner Van Allen belt and the outer Van Allen belt. And then we have the Aurora 4 platforms that are referred to as the Winterlands because of certain characteristics of them. And I think that's connected to what's happening with our poles as well, with all the ice and stuff. And this one is, I forget how to pronounce that, Danue Sheva. And this is just outside of the outer Van Allen belt, above D3 upper telos hibernation zone. We also have nasty zones that run through here that are pieces of the natural light field that were forced into reverse spin and literally made the matter forms disappear from here and end up creating an artificial life field matrix by stealing the energy from here. They are literally right in our atmosphere, and they are part of this matrix. They are not interfacing here from elsewhere. They came from here by perverting a part of here, and then they link themselves in to other black hole systems for support. So we have hibernation zones that are reverse spin matrices. One of those is connected to the ozone layer. The ozone layer is actually formed by one. And the hibernation zones are created by something called the NET, the Nibiruan electrostatic transduction fields, which are specific types of frequency that are run through in what they used to call in ancient Egypt and Atlantis, the Ankh technologies. And we'll show you a bit what they are in a little bit. But these particular technologies force literally reversals or splitting of the natural field. Say if you have the raw light field at 10, it would split that, and there would be what was in it would stay on the regular spin that it's naturally supposed to be on, but it would be netted and harnessed and controlled and controllable. And then what was above and below the net would become a reverse spin zone and hibernation zone. So that's how they work. There are three nets, a D1, a D2, and a D3 level net. They also correspond directly to the DNA templates, where you have the D1 represents the etheric. It is the etheric template upon which the chemical DNA forms. The D2 level, or the telluric level of the DNA and the net involved, is the physical level. And there is a D3 level that is called the epigenetic overlay. And this has to do with the atomic layer of natural structure. And the three nets control the biofields and the chemicals and what they can do and can't do of the life forms on this planet. We are on a prison planet. And I don't like to say that, and I don't even like to think about it, but the fact is, since Atlantis, we are. This particular system of hibernation zones didn't always exist. In fact, it's one of the more recent additions to the beastly mess that has been going on here since it's been going on in Terra before even we had the solar system. But the net systems went up earlier, but finally reversing the light fields to the point where they could create the hibernation zones happened in 9562 BC, right before the 9558 BC final fall of the Atlantean Islands, or sinking of the Atlantean Islands. Oh yeah, they sunk. They sunk and they got dragged up into reverse spin. And they exist, and those fields are still there. They were harnessed and they were brought through into the hibernation zones. And one of the things or characteristics you will find in the physical D2 hibernation zone is Atlantis. It is still there. The Zetas like to hang out there. That's where they run most of their abductions and stuff from. But they're not the only ones. These fields are inhabited by fallen angelic groups who have adopted various forms of human and ET forms, and they interact with us, and they have, because they set this system up, they got control of Earth's planetary gates and its crystal matrices that run those gates. So this has been a long story, and we're finally coming to the end of that story. It kind of went as bad as it could have, but not quite as bad as it could have, because we're still here able to teach ascension. We're still here saying you can still regenerate the DNA enough to, we have 223 years left to start making that shift. That's not like having to move tomorrow. There's time. It's sad that it went this way, but it was actually almost expected. There are probabilities where it didn't. We have aligned since 2000, 2080, with the base pulse rhythm of the probability where indeed this fall occurred. There could have been other choices made on this planet by the collective consciousness since 2000 that would have changed that. Those choices were not made. There was such a heavy influence of the fallen angelic mentalities here, and the channels that were getting false information, and the traditional religion people who were being run around by Illuminati, and all sorts of things. There wasn't really much of a chance. But we gave it our best shot as far as trying to actually bring the whole place through what was called the Bridge Zone Project into a time shift, just a small time shift just to get out of this probability BPR. That didn't work. And by 2004, that didn't work. So there's a progression of the drama that has escalated to the point where the solar gate, the solar core gate shut down and the sun has entered Bardo, which means you can't try to save this whole system again. You can't, because the center sun is going into a Bardo cycle, and that means the other planets around it will eventually have to join it because they're stuck around it in orbit. But there are still, because of the Ancestasia host, there is host line from the parallel adjacent Akasha matrix, which is the ones they're called the Aquarian matrix, and they're the Aquari races. They're the ones who went into full Christed status. They're holding the gates open here, and they can do that only until the end of the Bardo part of the death cycle of the sun. Because at that point, if they don't pull the host out of this system, if they don't pull that passage out, the frequencies that the sun core would start to give off would actually blow their matrix up, and that won't be allowed, of course. So that's why there's 223 years left. Next one, please. I won't even get into the Akusha platforms now. Just know the word Akusha platform refers to platforms in between the Aurora platforms that connect to the Adore side. And when you activate them, they allow for a more rapid activation of the Atori side of the safe zones, of the Aurora zones, and they open what is referred to are the sun fields or the slide fields. These are the fields into which we are being trained to eventually biologically slide. And the first part of slide training is learning to glide. And glide is what we were doing when we were doing the Rasha body projections. So we're progressively going to, now we're working with the Iridanis body. The Iridanis body, which is the adjugate spirit body of energy that literally are light body sparks accrete to fill out the form. That holds our divine blueprint, and that has the ability to actually progressively heal the mutation so we can first get out of here hosted into the Ascension Earth fields, and from there get back into the natural matrix where we could actually do a natural starfire turnaround to the Adashya cycle. So that's what we're in the middle of. This is just showing the circular maps in relation to where the D2 Earth is, the D2 Earth surface. It's not showing the grid that goes with that one because it just makes too many lines on the page. So here's our D2 Earth surface, and here is the D3 mental plane, and that would be in our atmosphere. Right? The D2 surface here, this would be our thermosphere, and here's where the ozone layer hangs. And the ozone layer is part of the net-created hibernation zone fields. And like the stories of the Wizard of Oz and things, guess where they come from? These guys, there's one that is called Olympus, all the Greek god stuff and all those kind of things. They've been feeding us stories for a long time. And yeah, it's almost like, well, at least they have a sense of humor, a warped one, but it's like click your ruby slipper is in a place like home. Anyway, out here, you would have, here is, in relation to these, here's where the gap zone and the Van Allen belts would be, here's where the inner belt would be, and here is where the outer belt would be. And then going up further, as we see the embedded grids of the 5 different layers, where you have going all the way up to the D2 level of Eartha, is how you find where the Adashi temples are. And the Adashi, the surface of Eartha is actually where our magnetosphere around the planet runs. The magnetosphere is not natural. We should have a coronasphere. The magnetosphere is part of a whole bunch of apparatus that is part of the beast machine and part of the black hole technologies that are built on the bloom of doom. Next one, please. And if I'm talking really fast, it's because I want to get to the other graph, so at least you hear it once. And then if you have to like slow the DVD down, at least you heard it once fly by. This is just showing that same thing with our D2 Earth, the D3 mental plane, with the Van Allen belt areas as like donuts wrapping around at certain areas in the atmosphere. Next one, please. This is the mess of the magnetic fields that are around our Earth that form these are the core magnetic flows that come out of what is called the yin-yang. They're supposed to be what are called the yan-yun flows, and somewhere as we progress we'll see what the yan-yun flows look like, which are the natural electromagnetic flows that are supposed to flow through the light body and the spirit body systems. These create a tube torus effect. These are all based on the golden meanie spiral and the Fibonacci sequence and all of those things, Metatronic science. They're all part of the fall mentality. There are several large paradigms out there that are actively teaching them, and they are teaching people to use Merkaba mechanics that are, if they are not already reversed and have their fields reversed beyond repair, they will by the time they're done using them. And that is really sad that people just don't know. They have nothing to compare it to. We're the only ones that have given them anything to compare it to, and we've invited some of the other teachers to have public debates, even just discussions. We don't have to debate, and they won't. So that says something. Yeah, we're still opening the invitation. Next one, please. This would be the natural structure. Now, we've had these, we talked all about this structure, and even though it looks a mess on this because it's a messy diagram, what it is showing is the natural crystal body structure, or the chariot of fire, that is the natural structure of the light body, spirit bodies, mainly the light bodies, that a normal planet would have. This is what our crystal body structure looks like, too, when it's acting normally. We learned about these things in Cathara 2.3. And we are using this to show that in the original host, as the Amenti rescue mission was set 550 million years ago, when Earth and the solar system were put down in the density 1 plane in an attempt to re-evolve them, and also in an attempt to be a host system to try to drag the Milky Way back up into the Andromeda Galaxy so the whole thing could become an ascension system again, because Earth is key to that, as we'll see a bit later. But this would have been the relationship. You would have had Earth's body here at a particular angular rotation of particle spin, and then Eartha's body here. So we were literally hosted inside the fields of this star. It just so happens that this star, called Eartha, exists 2.2 million miles away, light years, not miles, light years away in the Andromeda Galaxy, which is a new thing. We didn't know that yet. They just released this information this last weekend, and there were graphs that had to show how something like that can happen. And